Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special Conqueror TV with your host, Brick Johnson. I actually have a very special guest today. He knows me as Josh Penrod. He's one of my comedian friends. We've kind of shared the same stage on some open mics. He's a headliner. He's done TV. He has his own business as well. Daniel BUBLITTZ. So let's welcome to him on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Everybody, this is my one of my good friends, Daniel BUBLITTZ. We'll have some questions and comments here in the and StreamYard. Welcome to Conqueror TV. A little bit about here is we're a production company. And we do wrestling promos, but we're also a variety group too. So that's why I brought you out here, because I know you got some stuff going on right now. And yeah, we'll just kind of get into that. How long have you been in the comedy world, comedy business?
I've been doing stand-up comedy for about 12 years. It'll be 12 years. I started in 2010. So this year will be my 12th year. So quite a while, actually.
Yeah. What got you into comedy?
It's the short answer is divorce. That's what got me into it. I mean, but yeah, I mean, that's what happened. I was married for a long time, and then I got divorced, and stand up was something I always wanted to do. So I just decided to do it after the divorce. So it's it was one of them scenarios where I don't want to be a person that looks back at life and wonders what happened. I want to know, or wonders what if. I want to know what happened. So I started doing stand-up.
Who did you, what kind of got you into stand-up? Like, was there some people that you emulate? Or
is there somebody that
models? There we go.
Role models for comedy? I mean, I guess there's a lot. I mean, Mike Birbiglia is a comic that I've really looked up to. But a lot of I had some good mentors though, like comics that people might not have ever heard of. Like a good friend of mine and a mentor, Spencer James. He was a comic that I kind of looked up to. And he worked the road really hard and he had a really good worth ethic. I mean, he still does. He still works quite a bit. Now he does cruise ships. So he was always a good mentor for me. And just for the record, I saw that question pop up. Who's funnier, Dan or Josh? It's me. It's me.
Yeah.
No questions.
No questions there. I will say that all the time. He is the professional comedian. I still do open mics and online. I don't get paid for any of mine. He is totally funnier than me. Because you have your own. Yeah.
I keep busy. I do a lot of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
What's the funniest movie you've ever seen? Ooh, that's a good question. There's so many. I'll go with probably my favorite comedy. I don't know if it's the funniest, but to me, it's one of the funniest. And that would be Grandma's Boy. I love that movie. That movie still makes me laugh.
I would say for me would have to be Superbad. That one makes me laugh. The stupid comedy. So what?
All kinds of biggest name I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Would be probably Dana Carvey. Okay, maybe Kevin Pollak. I mean, yeah, those would probably be the two biggest. I would say Dana Carvey's probably the most well known.
What's your biggest show that you've done?
I mean, I've done a lot of big shows. I mean, as far as, because I've produced comedy festivals too, so I've had comics that have done the festivals that I produced. As far as the biggest show that I've ever done personally, like crowd wise,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe a couple hundred people. I mean, the biggest show just in general that I've done, it wasn't necessarily the biggest crowd, but it was when I did my dry bar comedy taping.
Yeah, when is that coming out?
It's supposed to be July of 2022, so a couple months yet.
Okay, and then you just recently moved as well, but you also did an album as
Mm-hmm.
well, and like in your basement, right? Let's talk a little
Yeah,
bit about that.
and I've got an album that will be coming out right now. I am running a Kickstarter if anybody's interested in backing the project. Um, if you go to Kickstarter and search "Strangers in My Basement," you'll find it. The Kickstarter is essentially a pre-sale for the album, but the concept is I recorded a comedy album in my basement in a room with a room full of strangers. I did 2 shows and they both turned out pretty good. So now, what I'd like to do, the reason I'm doing a Kickstarter, because it's already recorded, it's already mixed and edited and mastered. I'm trying to raise funds because I want to press it on vinyl, and that's really expensive. So I'm trying to do like a limited press. So there's only going to be 100 pressed. If I don't
Oh wow.
make it, then it's just going to be released digitally. So
Okay. No, I did see some because I'm friends with you on Facebook. Your cat was there too. Who is funnier, you or the cat?
well, I was definitely funnier, but my cat definitely stole the show. Oh, they want to know what's your best road story? Oh man, I got a lot. There's so many. Yeah, like bad road stories, good road stories.
Yeah,
Like
let's go with like maybe a
what's
bad and then like your
well, I
best
think
one.
one of the most interesting road stories for me would probably be. I mean, I've had a couple times where I drove all the way to the show to a show, which was like a 5-6 hour drive, and then not had to perform. They still had to pay me. I mean, those are always kind of cool when that happens. But uh, yeah, my first road show was pretty cool because you know, I got paid mostly to drive the comic, but I got to do an open for him as well in the show. So I got paid like, I don't know, like $100 and got to do like 10 minutes, but there was like only 6 people in the audience when I went up. It was like in this weird banquet room, and they had like a trellis behind us, like from a wedding, with fake vines and floodlights on the floor, aiming up into our faces, and it was quite the experience. And at that time, I was very green, so my set wasn't that great. By the time the headliner went up, there was more. There was quite a few more people in the crowd, but it was funny because we when we got there, there was like no advertising, and the owner of the venue was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to do advertising, but I put it up on the whiteboard there, so hopefully
Ah,
people will come." And then, of course, people really didn't. Uh,
yeah.
as
What's your best road story?
mm, Well, probably in 2015, I put together an independent tour with some buddies of mine. We kind of had our own comedy troupe called the Distinguished Scoundrels, and we did a tour through the Southwest and up through the Midwest and then back to California. So we basically just did a big loop,
Oh,
and
nice.
that was a fun tour that we did. But it was funny because before we left, we had some friends that worked in a dispensary, and they gave us like a care package for the road. And when we got to Yuma, Arizona, we got stopped for the checkpoint. We got tagged by a drug dog, and
Oh,
I thought for sure we were all going to jail. Like this was going to be the end of our tour before it even started. And they had to search the car, and they asked us if we had anything, and we're deny, 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 deny. And I don't really use drugs at all, so like I was freaked out because I was like, great, I'm gonna end up going to jail for something I have nothing to do with. And anyway, they're searching the car. They're telling us, you can do this the easy way. Tell us what you have, or the hard way, and we'll find it. And it was funny because they, right as they opened the back of the vehicle, my friend just like couldn't take it anymore, and he's like, "We got a bunch of edibles in the back." And right as he says this, they open the back, and this box of edibles falls out and just scatters across the pavement. And I'm like, oh God, now we're in trouble. And they ask if there's anything else. We tell them no. Then they find my friend's vape oils for his vape pens.
oh,
So that happens. And then I'm thinking for sure we're all getting arrested now. and we ended up not getting arrested. It was crazy. We're sitting there. I'm thinking, yep, we're going to jail. That's going to happen. And then he says, and then as we were there searching us, the supervisor told us that he used to do stand-up comedy in Las Vegas and all this other stuff. So he was real interested in the fact that we were doing stand-up, and real nice. And anyway, so we get to that point, and he's like, all right, well, this is what's going to happen. Transporting drugs across state lines is illegal, even though you have a medical marijuana cards, blah, blah, blah. So what we're going to do is we're going to let you go. You can take the edibles with you, but we got to keep the oil. So they let us go, and then they let us keep the edibles. And I was like, oh my God, is this a trap? I was thinking, are we going to get like a mile up the road and then the Arizona State Troopers are going to bust us? What's going to happen here? So they let us go. And I know that there's another checkpoint we have to get through in El Paso. And so my buddies just ate all the edibles in like 12 hours because they didn't want to throw them away. We get to that checkpoint, and they didn't even check anything. They just saw us pull up, and they're like, oh, you're all white. Welcome to Texas. And just pretty much waved us all in. So they ate all those edibles for nothing, which is pretty funny.
And then, that's quite.
What was it like the first time on stage? It was very scary.
Yes.
It was very scary because I had to overcome stage fright to do stand-up comedy, for one. So I kind of already had that fear. So of public speaking. So I was very, very nervous, very, very scared. And, I still remember to this day when they called my name, I walked up to the stage, I grabbed the microphone, I looked out in the audience, and for a split second, I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? How can I get out of this? And then I told a couple jokes and got some laughs, and I was immediately hooked.
Nice. That's same thing here. I told a couple jokes, got laughs, got hooked. I'm nowhere like where you're at. I don't think I'll ever be there, but yeah, hey, dreams. You never know. You could.
Well, you got to just keep working.
Yeah. Now you started your own business as well, correct?
What's that?
You started your own business as well.
Well, yeah, comedy is my business. That's what
Yeah.
I do some producing too, so I have my production company, BUBLITTZ Entertainment, but essentially that is also me doing stand up. I run, like, when I get paid for stand up, I run it through my business.
Oh, okay.
So it's my stand up. I do some producing and, independent shows and stuff, but not as much. That's mostly just for stand up, just to keep track of my income and my expenses and things like that. Because you want to try to keep things legal and pay taxes and, and hopefully you don't have to pay taxes because you have enough expenses that they cross each other out. So,
what would you say, when you transition from, say, like your regular job to comedy, like when did that happen and how was that for you?
Well, first, I'm going to answer that question. Any advice for a person with stage fright? The best advice that I can give you is to just go do it. The only way you'll ever get over stage fright is by getting on stage and whatever you're trying to do, whether you're trying to do a speech or improv or, stand up, whatever you're trying to do, if that's causing stage fright, you just have to go do it. One thing that does help is improv classes can help kind of overcome with that, because it's not as intimidating, because when you're on stage, you're up there with a group of people. So improv classes are a good way of helping overcome that, but the best way is just to do it.
Nice.
Then as far as your question goes, the transition, it wasn't, it was somewhat smooth. It wasn't smooth. My goal, so I had a lot of stuff booked. My goal was by the end of 2020, I was going to be a full-time comedian. And well, we all know what happened in 2020. We know what happened. So that didn't happen. And I had a bunch of stuff booked for the whole year, and it all got canceled. And I had a regular job as well. And then I eventually got laid off from that job. I had like a temporary layoff because of the pandemic, and then they reorganized, and my company or my position got eliminated. And so then I was like, well, now I'm laid off. I got some unemployment, and I'm going to school as well. So I had that. I was working on getting some degrees. So I just kind of transitioned into doing comedy full time. When things started opening up in early 2021, I decided that I was going to bust my butt and try not to have to go get a regular job. And I've been doing it for over almost a year now, and I'm probably going to have to go get a regular job to supplement the income because gas prices now are crazy.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. All right.
That last commercial, I was like, what kind of show am I on? What is
No, these are wrestling promos. So pretty much,
I was like, oh yeah, I'm on a wrestling show.
pretty much what we do is like none of us wrestle. Some are former wrestlers, some of us are not, like me. But what we do is promos. So it's like you take say Jake the Snake from back in the day. He would have a promo, and somebody else would have a promo.
No, I know. I'm aware of what happens in wrestling. I used to be a heel manager for an independent wrestling company.
Really? Well,
when I lived in San Diego, so I know what wrestling is.
Let's talk a little bit. Well, let's transition to that for a little bit.
Yeah,
so you did some independent. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did. So I had a friend who still wrestles. He's out in LA, but he's a voice actor and comedian and wrestler. And we became really good friends when I lived out in San Diego. And he started his own wrestling production called Fans United Wrestling. He's not really doing anything with that now. He just wrestles for other people now. But so he started this wrestling company, and he knew I loved wrestling, but I'm not at the age where I could go train and be a wrestler. Even then, I was in my mid-30s and not going to happen. But so I got to come on as a heel manager because, a lot of times a lot of wrestlers can't, they're not very good at doing promos. So that's why they pair them up with with a manager. And I got to be a heel manager, and that was so much fun. My favorite wrestler, there's a lot. R.I.P. Scott Hall. Let's throw that out there. He just passed away. That's sad. He was one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. I loved him in the shenanigans that he got into with the 1-2-3 Kid. I love that he is the person that kind of helped put, what eventually became X-Pac, but really got him going in wrestling, kind of being affiliated with Scott Hall. But probably one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, as far as I love Stone Cold will be one of my all-time favorite. I love the Attitude Era. Mick Foley's another favorite wrestler of mine. Those I would put right up there. I mean, you can't the Rock and Sock connection. Come on. That stuff was great.
I love the whole birthday thing. That was probably one of their best, I think the best ones ever. It's your birthday, and The Rock has.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I liked about The Rock and Mick Foley and Stone Cold. They're so good at cutting promos. You get some of these wrestlers that aren't good at public speaking or whatever, and they're not good at it. And, I think being able to have that skill set goes a long ways in the business. In fact, I think, you have these independent wrestling schools and, a lot of it's focused on the wrestling. I honestly think they need to have somebody come in and help with the public speaking aspect of it and the doing the promos and stuff like that. Cause that, being able to come up with your own character and then, being able to, write bits for that character and things like that, and then being able to perform that is huge.
Oh yeah, well they used to have at the Performance Center before he passed away was Dusty Rhodes was down there
Mhm.
teaching promo classes. And I mean, you're getting some of the best right there from Dusty Rhodes. He's like one of the gold standards for
Mhm.
doing promos. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think that is a kind of a lost art because like Mick Foley couldn't wrestle that well. He was more of the hardcore jumping off stuff and hurting himself.
He could get hurt.
He could get hurt, but the promos he could do, like
Yes.
the
Yep.
different characters he had, that's what got him over. That's what I love about him.
Yep.
What would you say is like your I don't know greatest achievement or your biggest achievement in comedy at this time?
Probably that I'm still doing it after 12 years. That I haven't gave up yet. I think that's an achievement for anybody. I don't know. I've got lots of things that I've done that I'm proud of. I helped get the San Diego Comedy Festival going years ago. I produced shows for Dana Carvey. And since I did the festival, I produced 2 other festivals. I got to film for Dry Bar Comedy. I got to do stuff for the military, which was really cool. So I mean, there's so many cool things that come with comedy. So I don't know. I don't really have one thing, that I would say is the best. It's all great. All the highs are
Nice.
great.
And you also have a podcast too, right?
I do. I have a comedy podcast right behind me. The Art of Bombing podcast. Oh, excuse me. Where I talk to other comedians about their worst shows and what they've learned from doing those shows. So if you want to hear horror stories of comedy, it's a great podcast for that.
And that comes over.
Scariest. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was saying that fits perfectly with this question right here.
Oh yeah, scariest moment on stage. Probably one time I was at an open mic and a guy came up to the stage and we had it was kind of a misunderstanding, but he was threatening to beat me up. And instead of backing away, I just stood there and just kept telling jokes. I started roasting him even more and I just kept interacting with him. And then finally they got him to sit down. But honestly, I was probably the scariest moment. I thought for sure he was going to pull out a knife or a gun or something. I was afraid I was going to get stabbed that night.
So where can we catch you at?
Well,
where's your plugs?
Oh, there we go. Right there. D BUBLITTZ Comedy on all social media platforms. I'm on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find it all. Or the easiest way to get to all my other social media is to go to my website, danbublitzcomedy.com.
Awesome.
You can find my podcast there as well.
Was there anything else you want to say before we end?
No, thanks for having me. This was great. I hope the people watching enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun talking about it, all the stuff. This was a fun little interview. I didn't know what to expect, so this is fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you to everybody that participated in questions. I am Brick Johnson. This has been Conqueror TV. You all have a good night.